Hello, and welcome to another episode of Avarian Post on LastofAvari's channel, and today we'll be talking about this SSD. That's not SATA SSD, that's NVMe drive. That means it's pretty fast, and that's my first SSD. I initially was going to buy something like this a year ago, but my camera broke, the old one, which is Panasonic HCV210, and I had to get a new one, and that took the whole year to get money for that task. So I only have this nice drive now, and it's pretty fast, supposedly. Of course, I hadn't wasted that last year, so I've read tons of different reviews, articles and stuff on SSDs in general and various models reviews. Samsung is a pretty reliable manufacturer. They make their own chips when it comes to flash memory, when it comes to controllers, so they control this process 100%. If we will unpack this little box, then you will see that the actual drive is very tiny. Way smaller than I would think initially, but yeah, it's nice. Looking pretty sleek. It has 500 gigabytes on it, so it's a decent size, not the most you can have these days, but in my opinion it's sorta a golden middle for me, for my kinda tight budget, so I can not only migrate my operating system drive, my partition, but put a few games on it and maybe some software, like editing software for videos and stuff. I have chosen to buy this drive for M.2 form factor in this tiny board, not only because I had not really any free space in my PC for a regular SATA drive, but because obviously it's a lot faster, and when you are buying M.2 SSD you have to think about what actually you are buying, because there are multiple types of this M.2 slot. This M.2 slot is designed for NVMe interface. That means that you can't really put it into SATA M.2 slot. SATA and NVMe M.2 slots look different and they are physically incompatible, so before you buy this kind of drive you have to make sure that you have necessary compatible slot in your motherboard. But enough theory, now I'll put this tiny board inside my computer. Of course, I have already installed Samsung migration software, so I would be able to move all data from my partition to my new system drive. So let's get to installation montage. We are back. I have finished installing my SSD drive. It is already seen in the system, as you can see. Here I have 500 gigabytes nominally, and actually it's 465 gigabytes, which you can use for your data. It is unformatted. I don't need to format it, I just need to move the data from my drive C to drive this one, that then will be relabeled, and I'll merge currently existing partitions C and D into one, so I'll have entire 2 terabytes on my Seagate drive. And here you just need to install software on this Samsung SSD website. Just go to our section of data migration, open it, and install data migration software, which you will need to move your files from your old hard drive to a new SSD. Let's start Samsung data migration utility, and as you can see, it's pretty simple, not a lot of options. You just click start, and then it's already recognized, as you can see, my source disk and my target disks. As you can see, that's my Seagate Barracuda, 2 terabytes, 2 partitions. I only need to migrate this one. It has 71 gigabytes of data and it's total about 128 gigabytes. And I want to move it and expand it to an entire SSD drive, which is obviously already selected. So we can just click process and wait until cloning operation will complete. And one more thing that we will need is definitely NVMe driver, because without the driver we will be only capable of using our new device for storing files, but not for booting from it. Now, I already have the driver installed, and as you can see, here are my new partitions. The device was cloned, obviously. That means that we have signatures conflict, as you can see over here. And to resolve this conflict, we will need new signature for our boot drive. That means we will just turn it online. That will resolve the conflict, and now we can actually use it. Of course, not with H, but that will be resolved after we will reboot the system from this new drive. Here we go. All of these benchmarks are done. That means that you can see all the speeds. I will obviously drag it, so you could pause and see all these read, writes, random and sequential. Obviously, random is always a lot lower, and as you can see, yeah, these sort of speeds, they're just not comparable. Any of my mechanical hard drives is a lot of times slower, even in sequential reads and writes, than this NVMe drive. So yeah, can highly recommend, definitely, if you're still using for whatever reason old mechanical hard drives, a good SSD will always beat it, which is obvious, but some people just don't think about it, and when they're installing something like that, you can clearly see the difference. So yeah, comments are welcomed in the comment section. If you like the video, you know what to do. That was LastofAvari from LastofAvari's channel. It's just amazing. The last thing I want to talk about is that if you first cloned your drive and then installed drivers, obviously when you switched your bootable drive, you have to reinstall the drivers, because they weren't moved to your SSD at that point. Yeah, LastofAvari is out.